Let's talk about Project Bluebeam. Can you describe what that is?
Well, that's another subculture term that's been attached to a series of projects that involve what the Pentagon, what they call a deceptive indication and warning, or a false INW, which is a false flag. And it's the ability to stage, through very advanced technologies, an alien attack or an alien event. And it's a whole series of them. Now, what most people don't know about, since late 50s, early 60s, like the Barney Hill case and all that, those were all human assets abducting innocent people made to look alien. And so that psychological warfare was authorized in 1953, 54. 1954, we mastered gravity control. So we started deploying these assets to begin to condition the public that there's a scary threat from outer space. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Hollywood, Alien, Ridley Scott's movies. If you want to see a script for what's coming fairly soon, look at the movie Independence Day. Okay. It's right at a central casting for this covert group. So what their whole purpose is to create sort of a global militarized totalitarian superstate of the world fighting another world. It's like War of the Worlds. Okay. And that's been a 70-year defense plan. And I know people who've seen that plan. Carol Rosin saw the plan, who is Werner von Braun's spokesperson, who's on our team. She's almost 80 now, but brilliant mind. And, when she realized in the 70s that this was what was afoot, her whole life was devoted to trying to get some of these projects under control. But we're little David's up against an enormous Goliath. And nevertheless, the truth, if people want the truth, Gloria Steinem said, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. It's time for people to, actually realize that this is something they have to take seriously. So now, if you add those capabilities to holographic capability, scalar weapon capability, space-time systems where you can alter the flow of space-time in an area, which gets into some really... At the CIA, they call this WSFM, weird science and frickin' magic. At my uncle's company, I met an engineer that dealt with this stuff a couple years ago, and he said, we just call it PFM, pure fucking magic, excuse my language. But he says, literally, that's what we call it. So you're dealing with technologies that are, and this is the problem, I call it the big technology gap between what conventional Pentagon, Special Forces, Joint Staff, Senate Intel, Armed Services, House Intel, the President, National Security people, what they know and what this group has. So what they know, it's like this is, just to make this real for people. When I was briefing years ago, the admiral in charge of J2, Joint Intelligence for Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Wilson, and that memo leaked out where he was debriefed by Dr. Davis, and everyone went, oh my God. And it states, I was there for a stand-up briefing, and what they don't know is that at the end of it, I asked the Admiral to help us get to this is 97, this is 26 years ago. And he said, well, I don't know how I'm going to help with something when the best technology we can deploy, is a B-2 stealth. And this other group have objects that can do circles around the B-2s. And he acknowledged that to me. I said, well, that doesn't mean you can't. He says, well, I can't unless it's authorized. I said, well, where do you need the authorization? Well, he felt he needed authorization from the SecDef, who had already been waived off, and the president, which was Clinton at the time, who had also, I have a very interesting story since I saw you, but we knew that Clinton had been approached by George H.W. Bush and told, butt out, this is none of your business, dealing with the UFO issue. Because this was one of the very first things Clinton wanted to know about, because I knew people who lived at the White House with him. He was very keen on getting to the bottom of it, but the efforts he launched were torpedoed, and he eventually backed off of it.